Back here on HQ Spotlight and fresh off a championship run, the Oklahoma City Thunder have just been dishing out the big bucks to lock in the core of their 2025 championship team that features the big three in SGA, Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams. For much more on the Thunder, who continue to be big contenders entering next season, let's go ahead and welcome in Sam Quinn and John Gonzalez. Guys, great to see you. Sam, just how important was it for the Thunder to pay these three if they want to continue to compete in this championship window that they have?
Well, yeah, they locked up their three best players. It's a pretty essential component of building a hopeful dynasty. But it's not just getting them locked in. It's the terms that they got them signed to, right? Guys with this little experience, 4 and below years, they can sign for up to 25% of the cap unless they hit certain markers like All-NBA, MVP, or Defensive Player of the Year. In that case, you can go up to 30% of the cap. A lot of the time when a player hits any of those goals, they'll just automatically jump to 30. The way the Thunder structured these contracts, Chet Holmgren doesn't have any of those escalators, right? He makes, if he wins Defensive Player of the Year, he doesn't get a bump. Jalen Williams, it's structured interestingly, where if he makes third team All-NBA, only 26%, and then it goes up from there. So yeah, they did pay a lot of money to get their three best players locked up, but they didn't pay as much as they absolutely could. And as they navigate the aprons, as they navigate the luxury tax, every dollar that they saved in those negotiations could prove to be essential to keeping the team together down the line.
Yeah, Sam's right. I mean, they did another masterclass by Sam Presti on making sure that you get all the advantages you can, even on the margins here. But these three guys are obviously, Jordan, so good, right? I mean, SGA just won the MVP, won the Western Conference Finals MVP, won the Finals MVP, most deserving of a new contract, as is Jalen Williams, who made his first All-Star, his first All-NBA, and his first All-Defense. And by the way, Jalen Williams, who had a career year, might not be the second best player on that team. There's some debate about that, at least in my head, because Chet Holmgren exists, and he missed a big chunk at the beginning of the season. But I think he's got DPOY potential, Victor Wembanyama division, where at the very least I think he's going to be a perennial all-defensive caliber player. So having those three guys in your core and not having to probably disassemble the entire team like we just saw Boston Celtics do after Jason Tatum went down is a real boon, a real win for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, they still could have to say goodbye to a guy like Isaiah Hartenstein moving forward, because it's still going to be a little bit prohibitive when we're talking about team building in terms of how much salary that they've devoted to those three. But as Sam mentioned, having just a little bit more wiggle room gives them more optionality, and that's the name of the game for Sam Presti.
This franchise just hasn't stopped working since the second they picked up their first championship. And really looking at all the moves the Thunder made this offseason, what grade, John, would you give them?
Hey, I give Sam Presti an A on everything he does. The guy just does not miss. I mean, everything that think about all the moves that he's made when he goes and trades for SGA. I know that we're talking about this offseason, but when he goes and trades for SGA previously, Jalen Williams gets tossed into the deal just by virtue of the draft pick that they got. He selects Chet Holmgren. He scoops up Isaiah Hartenstein last year. He gets Alex Caruso from the Bulls for no draft picks. I mean, on and on and on. And then he goes and drafts Thomas Sorber this offseason, who's a potential replacement for Isaiah Hartenstein if they have to say goodbye to him next offseason. So just the way he's stacking draft picks, Jordan, so that in the eventuality that some of these more expensive veteran stars that they have to move on from outside of SGA, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren, he's got this influx of cheap, young, cost-controlled talent that he can load up onto the end of the bench. And it's just sort of like a conveyor belt of really capable basketball players. Sam Presti should win Executive of the Year in perpetuity. A for Sam Presti and the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Sam Presti can do no wrong in John Gonzalez's book is what I'm picking up here. You know, this franchise has the best team on the court, but off it, this front office, along with Sam Presti, is one of the best, if not the best in the league. Now, Sam, tell us why the Thunder's front office ranks atop of your rankings, though, over on CBSSports.com.
Yeah, they're great at everything, right? If you look at the manner in which you can build a roster, there are several different components. Do you draft well? Yes, of course. He drafted 3 MVPs in a row. He drafted Jalen Williams at number 12. He's the first non-top 10 pick to make an All-NBA team in his third season since Kobe Bryant. Does he trade well? I'm going to go ahead and say yes, considering he traded for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, for Alex Caruso. You look up and down the roster, I don't remember the last time he lost a trade. I guess it was James Harden 2 decades ago. Does he sign free agents well? Isaiah Hartenstein was a win. Does he hire the right coaches? Mark Daigneault, Coach of the Year, great job. there is no component of team building that the Thunder are not elite at, right? They do everything right. They have an ownership group that's willing to spend. I know there's some, bad blood left over from what happened with James Harden all the way back in like 2012. But since then, that ownership group has been willing to pay the tax when necessary. That team is going to get expensive. Sam Presti's done such a good job of assembling young talent, assembling draft picks. And as those guys start to get too expensive, when they do have to start making some cost-cutting moves, they're just going to replace them with cheap draft picks, right? John mentions Isaiah Hartenstein. He is a team option for the 26-27 season. Well, what did the Thunder just do? They drafted Thomas Sorber at number 15. They signed the big Jalen Williams from Arkansas to a very team-friendly deal. If they do have to lose Isaiah Hartenstein, they're going to have their replacements already in-house. That's the way this team is built, right? They're never going to feel the loss of a non-essential role player because they're just going to be able to cycle in somebody new. No GM has ever done such a good job of setting up his team, not only in the present, they won 68 games in the championship, but the future as well. They're not going to experience any real drop-off for several years at least.
Yeah, Sam's absolutely right. I mean, I love that he brought up the Hartenstein, the way that the contract was structured too, because even when we're talking about the details here, Jordan, nothing gets by Sam Presti to the point where he adds in the team option on that back end so that they have some more wiggle room and some more optionality there, rather than it being a player option and Hartenstein deciding whether or not he can stick around, which would then handcuff them further as they move the pieces around the board. Sam's piece on the best front offices on CBSSports.com, I highly recommend everybody read it because he nailed it. You saw his top 5 earlier. It's Oklahoma City, obviously, number 1. I think there's a big gap. I mean, there's some really other smart, you see it right here, there's some really other smart teams here. Obviously, the Celtics won a championship 2 years ago. They had to dismantle their team, though, because Jason Tatum went down, and then they were just hyper expensive. They weren't going to spend $500 million on a team that has no chance to win the Eastern Conference Finals this year. Then the Spurs and the Rockets. I might move the Rockets up over the Spurs, but not a huge quibble there. And then number 5 for the Cavaliers. I think Sam's really right on this and really smart about it. I don't think people give Kobe Altman enough credit for what he did. I mean, look, the Cavs, I thought, were dead in the water after LeBron left. They end up trading Kyrie Irving, and then all of a sudden they reboot this thing on the fly where they draft Darius Garland and they get Evan Mobley, and then they sign Donovan Mitchell, and then they trade for Donovan Mitchell, and then they also traded for Jared Allen. I mean, this thing, and then also identifying Kenny Atkinson, who's the coach of the year, who I thought did a really good job in his previous stint in Brooklyn, but didn't get enough runway. Just full marks for Kobe Altman, and also full marks for our guy Sam Quinn. He nailed this thing.
Yeah, no, great points there that you bring up as well, John Gonzalez. Everything really moving in the right direction for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and all of these moves that you guys are listing out, setting them up to have plenty of years left to contend. There's no question there, but John, how realistic is it that this championship window can last very long?
Yeah, I mean, it's realistic. I think that they have the best shot at winning multiple championships that we've seen for a while now. The caveat here is that in Adam Silver's parody NBA, it's difficult to win multiple championships. Last summer, we were all talking about, well, the Celtics could be a dynasty. One summer later, yes, there was an injury to Jason Tatum. We're going, that's a little bit on hold, right? So Oklahoma City, as we mentioned, Sam Presti's done a really good job setting them up. However, Jordan, 7 straight seasons now, we haven't had a back-to-back champion. Not a back-to-back champion since the Golden State Warriors did it in 2018. So, yes, they had 68 wins last year. Yes, I think that they're the favorites going into next season. Yes, I think that they're the favorites in the Western Conference. I just wonder, though, about, look, the West is so loaded, right? I mean, you see the Ascendant Rockets. The Denver Nuggets took them to 7 games, and the Denver Nuggets, by the way, got much better this offseason. So, yes, Oklahoma City has a shot to extend this and win multiple titles, but it is far from guaranteed.
We will see how long this championship window lasts. And as they get set really to hang their first ever NBA championship banner in the rafters, OKC, as you mentioned, John, enters next season as the betting favorite to go back-to-back. But Sam, what's your season prediction?
I am predicting a second consecutive NBA championship. I think they're going to break the streak of these 7 straight new champions. None of the teams that came before them that won a championship were this young, were this set up well against the cap. They're not even a luxury tax team this year, right? They have no financial pressure. They're young. They're going to get better. They won 68 games last year. They had a historic net rating. I see no reason to believe this team is not going to repeat. Sure, injuries happen, bad matchups. It's not a guarantee by any means, but they are as well set up to repeat as any team since the Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant Warriors. I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in the finals.
I think they're the favorites to do it, but as everybody knows, when we do these segments, Sam is the one who does these declarations. I'm a little bit more nuanced here. You think I'm sitting on a chair. This is actually a fence that I'm sitting on right now. I'm going to say that they're going to finish with the 1 seed in the Western Conference. They're going to make it to the Western Conference Finals, but then I'm going to reserve judgment to see what happens from there because, as I mentioned, last year, the Denver Nuggets, who their bench was depleted, really, outside of like Russell Westbrook, it was a really bad bench. This offseason, what happens? They go and add Bruce Brown. They go and add Tim Hardaway Jr. They get a really capable backup center who wanted to go to Greece. They convince him not to, and Jonas Valanciunas, which means Julian Strawther and Peyton Watson are now their 9th and 10th men instead of their 7th and 8th men. So that's a really good deep unit. Nuggets got better. The Rockets add KD. The Western Conference is loaded. All I'm saying is there's a lot of teams out there that could potentially unseat Oklahoma City. And I'm our guy Tim Doyle already predicted that the Rockets would come out of the West. I'm test driving it a little bit. I'm thinking about it.
John playing it safe. Sam just going all in, giving us our actual finals prediction. It's going to be the Cavs and Thunder, with the Thunder going back-to-back. Gentlemen, always great to see you. Stay put. More from you in just a minute. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. This is what happens when you continue to set yourself up for success, paying your big players and staff. OKC right now with the best odds to win the Western Conference at plus 140. Got to hit a quick break, but when we return, we're staying in the NBA, but checking in with the Atlanta Hawks. Have they actually made themselves a contender in the East? We have the answer next.